Hey everyone, this is Exploring Fiction, and welcome back to another video. So today I just wanted to touch briefly on why I think Finn could have been the best character of the sequel trilogy in Star Wars, and why his potential was extremely wasted to me. So before I get into it, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you like this video, as subscribing would help me out a lot. I've been getting a lot of views on my recent videos, and I want to thank you all for that. But if you subscribe, that would mean the world to me. So, let's get right into it. The sequel trilogy of Star Wars for me as a whole was pretty disappointing. Now, to be honest, when I first saw it in theaters, I loved Force Awakens. Even though, yes, it was pretty much a rehash of New Hope, I was in love with The Force Awakens for about a year after it came out. And then Rogue One came out, and I was high on Star Wars. And then The Last Jedi hit. And The Last Jedi, it was a very weird feeling watching it for the first time, because I thought I loved it after I saw it the first time, but the more and more I thought about it, and I saw it a second time in theaters, and then started seeing all the backlash on YouTube, I realized that I agreed with all of it. I really did not like that movie. And to me, one thing that could have saved the sequel trilogy as a whole was Finn. Now, of course, I didn't touch on The Rise of Skywalker just then, because Finn didn't really do anything in that movie, so there's nothing really to say about that. But Finn in the sequel trilogy, in Force Awakens, I thought he started off very promising. Like, that first bit with him rescuing Poe was very good, and I thought that we were about to see the main character of the new wave of Star Wars show us his defecting from the First Order into the Resistance, and therefore his rise to being the main protagonist. But instead it was Rey, and although I didn't mind Rey in The Force Awakens, that duel with Kylo Ren near the end kind of did ruin it for me, just because of course she had no training, and people have talked about this all the time for multiple years here on YouTube, so I won't talk about it too much. But really, that whole setup of the beginning of Force Awakens with Finn was just great. I thought that him rescuing Poe but also needing Poe's help was a very cool start of a friendship, and I was very excited to see where they went from there. Now, when it started to become more of Rey's story, I didn't really mind, but it felt very odd just from the get-go with Rey that Finn was just pushed to a secondary protagonist after we had just followed him in the beginning, and after we had seen him in trailers. I thought he was going to be our number one guy, possibly a stormtrooper turned Jedi, or at least stormtrooper turned competent resistance fighter. But the end of Force Awakens redeemed a lot of the faults Finn had in my eyes in that duel with Kylo Ren. The duel between Kylo Ren and Finn, and Kylo Ren and Rey, may be one of the most underrated in all of Star Wars. And I say this because, well, of course, Rey beating Kylo Ren first try was very jarring and unexpected, and just not the natural progression of what you would think would happen in the story. The way they handled Finn in that duel was just, to me, immaculate. How the whole time in the story of The Force Awakens, Finn was just running away from his problems and running away from his past life. But in the end, once Rey got hurt when she was forced back against the tree by Kylo Ren, Finn took up the lightsaber, Luke's lightsaber, Anakin's lightsaber, and attempted to defend his dear friend against someone who he knew was way more powerful than him, and he feared the most in the galaxy. Now, even though he lost, I think that's what made that fight great, is that, yes, he knew he was going to lose, but he was still willing to fight for someone he loved. So, that left the almost end of The Force Awakens on a good note for me. So going into The Last Jedi, I was really excited to see what they would do with Finn once he healed from his injury, and I was completely let down by Canto Bight. Canto Bight and his little escapade with Rose and their little lecture on animal cruelty was just completely, you could tell that it was forced in, and I just did not like anything about it, to be honest. They made Finn and Rose into caricatures of Star Wars characters, and it was just, I mean, you've heard the criticism 1,000 times before. I just thought it was nothing like Star Wars, and it felt like the people who made that movie did not like Star Wars or Star Wars fans. Now, near the end of The Last Jedi on Crate, I was almost willing to forgive all the sins of The Last Jedi when I saw Finn piloting his speeder toward the Death Star tech laser, about to sacrifice himself by running into it. Now, of course, I really liked Finn as a character. He was my favorite sequel trilogy character besides maybe Kylo Ren, but I was very bittersweet about seeing Finn sacrifice himself because, like I just said, I really liked his character, but I thought it would be a great way to end his character arc by having him sacrifice himself for his new family, the Resistance, against the thing he feared most, the First Order. And they ruined that too with Rose and her saving what we love shenanigans. And that right there kind of put the nail in the coffin for me about why The Last Jedi just did not work for me. Now, of course, you can point to many other things, such as Luke Skywalker being out of character, and you've heard it all, like I said. But really, when I saw that Finn was about to sacrifice himself, and he was saved by almost getting killed by someone who's supposedly his friend, who then kissed him in a totally non-romantic scene, that just ruined it for me, and for me it ruined Finn's character. Now, in Rise of Skywalker, Finn barely did anything, so it's not really something I need to touch on, because he was just there to shout Rey the whole time, as we've seen the memes talk about. So, Rise of Skywalker didn't really have anything I need to point out. But the first two movies of the sequel trilogy both had great moments for Finn, and moments that could have been forging a great character, and they just dropped the ball for one reason or another, and so that's why I think Finn was by far the most disappointing character. So let me know in the comments what you thought of the sequel trilogy, who you think is the best character, and maybe even the most disappointing, and why. And don't forget to subscribe, and I will talk to you all next time. Thanks for watching and listening. Bye.